Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Flynn with NAU Country. Thank you for joining us on today's NAU Country Connection call. Today, we'll be looking at our NAU Country mobile app and some of the agent functionalities that are available to you during these trying times as we try to keep our distance from others while still needing to work. As you can see, I already have my iPad shared to my screen, and I'm already actually logged in to the app. But this first, I want to talk about how you can actually get the app downloaded to your tablet, to your phone, whatever the case may be, in case you haven't done so already. In order to do that, I'm first just going to real quickly return to the home screen of my iPad. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into our App Store, the App Store for iPhones, iPads. The same can be applied for Android users. You would just go to your Google Play Store. I'm going to go ahead and select the search icon, and I'm just going to real quickly tap the search icon there and hit NEU country. You'll see that's what it will look like when you find it in the App Store. If you have not already downloaded it, you're not going to see the word open there. You'll have the option to download. Obviously, I already have mine downloaded to my iPad. So if I were to tap that open button, it's going to bring me to this screen here. From this point, I can go ahead and log in. You can see that I have the ability to log in with my Face ID. But in this case, I'm not going to do that just simply because we're already logged in a different version of this app, which would allow me to go ahead and show you some of the different things that are available in our mobile application. Once you log into the app, you'll see the same screen we're seeing here today, which will provide us with a list of policyholders which belong to your agency along the left-hand side. And we'll go ahead and jump into a couple of these policies here shortly. But before I do that, I feel like a lot of some of the cool features that are available to you as agents is actually missed because we're so used to just jumping into an individual insured and begin working on their policy. But there are some things that are available to at a more high level without actually selecting an individual insured. So to do that, I'm actually going to start right here. You can see where my mouse is hovering on these three little dots. And if I click that, it's going to provide me with a pretty good sized list of different features. I'll hit each one of these items, but some of them are pretty straightforward and won't need a whole lot of explanation. But we'll start at the top. You can see there it says map. Now, when we're used to clicking a map anywhere else in our system, we're used to seeing mapped fields for that particular policy or insured that we're working with. In this case, since I have not selected an insured, this map option is actually going to give me, once it gets done loading here, it's going to give me a list of all of my insureds and where they're located. As you can see now that it's downloaded, instead of seeing map fields like I referenced earlier, we see these little farm icons. Now this particular agency that I'm working with is one of our training agencies that our marketing reps use obviously throughout the entire nation, as you can see by how spread out some of these farms are. For yourself, you're going to be a little bit more zoomed in most likely based on your saturation of your area. But you'll see your actual policies and where they're located. This map is, you can zoom in and out with it. So let's see, I'll just zoom in on Omaha there. And if I click one of these farm icons, instead of getting, again, fields or anything like that, we just get some general information for this insured, which in this case is Sherry Franson, one of our reps out of Iowa. And she's using this particular policy as a training tool. So I just wanted to show that as a feature that is available to you as agents. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the back button and return to the original screen. All right, now that we're back to the original screen, let's go ahead and reopen that menu. Let's continue looking at the different features. The next one on the list, obviously, you can see is the new MPCI application. I'm actually going to skip over that just because we're past the obviously the last biggest sales closing, which was the spring sales closing. But I will take a look at the new Hail application. But I will say that the process between these two is virtually the same, almost identical. Obviously, the only difference being we're working with a Hail policy versus a MPCI policy. But if we go ahead and click this new Hail application, it's going to bring me to this screen here. Now, these three lines that you see here three different apps that I had started or was working on in the past. For today, we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to select the Start a New Policy application. Now keep in mind, because we selected the new Hail application before selecting an insured from the list on the prior screen, we're going to need to build that information. If you select this option while having an insured elected, which we'll look at a little bit later, some of this stuff will already be pre-filled. So this is going to be an excellent option for you if, say, for example, this is a prospect or someone that you had a meeting with and they're interested in opening a quick hail policy, a storm's coming, whatever the case may be. This is where you want to go ahead and do that because that way you can create in a new entity or new insured right from within the app. So I'm going to start from the top here and just select that insurance year, which will already be pre-filled, 2020. So we're good there. So I don't need to change anything there. But next I'll select the applicant. From here, we can search for the last name and the last four of the tax ID. You'll notice on the right-hand side that both these fields are required. And if the entity that we're going to search for already exists in the system, then we can have a lot of our information pre-filled. But if they are not, we're going to go ahead and create a new applicant altogether. So I'm going to first just real quickly search for an insured. In this case, you can see no results were found, which I knew would happen. So I will need to go ahead and build a new individual. So I'll go ahead and select that option there. And basically, I'm just going to start from the top and begin to fill in the appropriate information, starting with my person type. Mr. John Doe, who we will be creating today, is not a corporation. As you can see, it's referenced here. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to an individual. I'm going to go ahead and just start then with my first name. Middle name not necessary. We already have Doe filled in from the prior screen when we were searching. I'm going to change that just to have a capital D though, just for the sake of doing that. No suffix. My social security number, you can see as the tax ID type is correct. And obviously now I need to enter the full tax ID and then verify that as well. Again, notice on the right-hand side, these fields are required along with a few remaining fields as well. Now that we have a tax ID keyed in, we need to enter our address. You'll notice that if I take my mouse off of the iPad, I can still tab to the appropriate field with the keyboard, which in this case I have a Bluetooth keyboard connected to my iPad, so that's how I'm able to do that. Something that would be available to you as well. So now that we have our address keyed in, I can make my way down to the contact method, which in this case I just need to enter a phone number. And we're ready to go to the next screen. If for whatever reason at the last minute we need to delete this, you can see we do have that option still here. But in this case, I think I'm done. So I'm going to make my way up to this option up here in the top right corner and select Done. Now that we have the insurance year and applicant filled out, we can make our way to the policy type. A lot of our information will already be pre-filled for us, starting at the top with crop year, state. We have a cash flag available. If there was an MPCI policy that was not required or is required, we can utilize these toggle buttons. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just select the bypass any MPCI policy requirements, basically making this a standalone hail policy. To do that, I'm just going to hit this toggle here. We can add any other discounts, which you can see if I highlight that, there are no entries. So in this case, we're good to go there. So the last thing I need to do, since my agency is already pre-filled, is to select my agent. So I'm going to go ahead and just click that space there. Now I'm going to select my agent, Mr. Crop Agent today. Now that we have the policy information inserted, we can make our way down to begin creating our lines. Now, since this, again, we selected this option from the very original screen where we had no insureds elected, we're going to have to build all of the applicable lines by hand. I'll click into it just to show you what that first starts to look like, but I actually won't go through the entire process because we'll look at this a little bit more in depth a little bit later on. when we have an insured selected. But you can see there that once I selected the add line option, my new line appeared, and I can begin to build that line by first just basically answering a series of questions, starting with the applicable county. Based on your answer for the original question, you'll essentially get a new question based on your original answer. And you would just continue through that process, building the line for this new hail policy or hail application. For now, though, I'm just going to go ahead and select the back button, and we'll again come back to this a little bit later with an insured selected. Now that we're back to the original screen, again, I'm going to reopen my menu item. We have our blank forms and same forms. I won't go into this into depth just because they are pretty straightforward. The blank forms will just give you a list of all of our forms that are available to you, whether you are an EasyWriter Pro or the portal, whatever the case may be, you have access to all those forms right here in the app as well. Same with the saved forms. These are just forms that you had saved in the app, and it can be accessible very quickly by just clicking this here. If I click it, this grid will just be blank because I currently do not have any saved forms for my login. We're going to skip this crop slide rule and then make our way to the NAU country contacts. The NAU country contacts, in my opinion, is actually a very underrated feature that can be found in a couple different places within the actual application. And the reason I say that is that there's just so many different NAU employees that are in contact with you or in touch with you in regards to different aspects of your policies, whether claims, underwriting, compliance, things like that. And what's nice about this is you can see it gives a nice list of all those folks, but what's really nice is that it also allows you to very quickly contact those different people. So for example, let's say that you wanted to get a hold of your marketing rep. In this case, we have Randy Vogt listed as our marketing rep. If, for example, you don't have their cell phone saved or their email, all you need to do from within the app is just click in that open space here. So I'm just going to click right about here, and it brings me to this screen. Now, this isn't Randy's real email, but if it was, all I would need to do is click this icon, and it'll immediately open up an email addressed to Randy. And you can go ahead and just contact him that way very quickly and easily. Same with the phone numbers listed. If, for example, you are doing this on a phone, or if you have a data plan for an iPad or your tablet, you can call them right from within the app by just clicking this icon. Now, I know that in a lot of examples, you more likely have your marketing rep's number saved in your cell phone, so maybe not necessary. But again, with utilizing the app, if I just back up one step here, you have everyone available to you that's in contact to your agency or in an individual insured, as you can see, including adjusters and things like that. So again, just a really nice feature that's available within the app that I think is pretty cool and not really used as much as I think it should be. And we'll actually see this option a couple more times as we move throughout the call. But again, if you need to just real quickly get a hold of someone, don't need to jump into an actual insured, you can just select this option and it's available right here, NAU Country Contacts. Revenue prices and commodity futures are both the same features that you would see if you actually visited our website, naucountry.com. I'll just click the revenue prices just to give you a visualization. But again, this is the same thing that you would see if you were looking at these options from within the website itself. I'm located in Minnesota, so that's why it just pulled up Minnesota for me right away. But you can see on the left-hand side, you can filter any state, crop year, and then any crop that you want to look at. Again, since this is an option that's available and it's verbatim on the website, I won't go any farther than this, but other than just to show you that you can get to it from that menu item. Same with commodity features. Agency info, I won't jump into this just because if you're logged in the app, it's obviously your agency. You know your agency information, but it is available here if you wanted to look at that as well. I'm going to skip messages because we're going to come back to that here real shortly, and just real quickly jump into settings, which is pretty read-only. Not a whole lot you can do here, other than if you do have a location preference as far as how the data is represented, you can elect to change that. You can see I have no preference, so I can see both township, range, and section and FTF information if I was looking at policies in different parts of the country where both could be in play, or one or the other. It does have a FAQ and help desk item here. If you select that, which you can see provides this document here with some links that'll bring you to different questions and things like that that you may come across as you navigate throughout the app. We'll pretty much highlight a lot of these different questions as we move throughout the call today, so I'm not going to go ahead and jump into any of these particular links that are available here. And then last, you can see you can provide any feedback for the app, which will get sent to our call center. I will then address those issues and see if there's anything that we can do to adjust or edit the actual application based on your needs as far as how you need it to work for yourself. The remaining information is just information about the app that is installed on your device, whether iPad, iPhone, Samsung, whatever the case may be. So let's go ahead and hit back again. And let's go ahead and jump back into the map because I said I would come back to this, but I skipped over, which is our messages. Now, the reason I skipped over this is because there's a couple of places you can address the messages. One being here, or you can just click right into it by clicking this little bell icon up top. Now, if I were to select it here, so I just click the bell, you'll see I have no messages selected at this time. And that's just because I haven't set anything up yet, and I'm going to do that for us today here on the call. But what this allows me to do is to actually set DRP price alerts for any of our DRP agents out there or agents that have policyholders that write DRP. And what this allows us to do is to get a notification if a certain criteria was met in regards to the price. So how do we do that? To do that, we actually need to back up a little bit here. So I'm just going to hit done. And I'm actually going to close this menu item because in order to set a price alert, we actually need to start working with an actual insured. So I'm just going to select Mr. Adam Baker here, this third one down. Now, once we have an insured selected, it's really important that we do not click the actual policy. I'm as guilty of this as anyone, mostly due to muscle memory, but I'm just so used to just clicking right into the policy. But it's really important that for this particular feature, where we want to look at the price alerts, that we do not select the policy. And the reason for that is if we look over here on the right-hand side, and I scroll up, or scroll down, however you define that, to our actions menu, when the policy is not selected, we have the ability to click into the account preferences. This particular feature will not be available once we're working on just that particular policy. Kind of look at it as right now we're just looking at the insured, whereas if we click the policy, we're going to start to adjust and affect the policy itself. But today, for the price alerts, we wanted to adjust or edit the actual insured information. And so that's why the account preferences is only available in the actions menu when the policy is not selected. So let's go ahead and jump into the account preferences. Once selected, we're brought to this screen here where we can begin to elect different types of notifications. You can see up top that we do have a hail notification, which is an email for the agents that are familiar with it. This is our hail probability email. So if you wanted to turn that on, we could do so here as well. I'm going to skip that because we're going to focus a little bit more on the price alerts. So the next section, you can see dairy price notification has a whole list of different notification types that we can turn on. If we start with the email, you can see if I just hit this toggle, it'll bring up this pop-up here, which is just simply notifying me that this is the email address that has been saved as a preference for my insured. This is good to go, so I'm just going to go ahead and select OK. I also, being that I'm playing the part of agent today, would like to receive these emails. You can see it's referencing myself here. So again, I'm going to hit the toggle. And once more, here's the email address that I would get. Now, again, this isn't my real email due to me being a demo version of the app. But for today, that's OK. We're just going to select the confirmation. Now, where we might get hung up, you as well as agents, is the push notification for your insured. And what you're going to see here, if I hit the toggle, I get this error. And what this is telling me is that Adam Baker here, again, my insured, has not yet set up a farmer portal account. Very simple and very easy to do, but until that's done, we can't elect for them to receive push notification. Now, with that being said, just real quickly, let's just talk about what is a push notification. A push notification is where you receive that notification from the app itself. Obviously, the first two that we elected are email, and they're just going to get emails. But if you have an insured that really uses the app a lot, this will show up as a notification in the app. Just like, for example, Facebook. If you have a like or a photo is tagged with you, and you're going to get that little red number 1 show up on the application for Facebook. This will be the same thing for them if they use the NAU Country mobile app. And so that's what's going to happen here if we get this turned on. So if that's something that your insured wants, you'll need to go ahead and get them set up with a farmer portal account, which we're going to cover in a future NAU Country Connection call coming up, which will be focused entirely on what the farmers have available, but with the spin of how you as agents can help them and guide them through some of those different features. So for today, I'm gonna go ahead and select OK, and you're gonna see it's gonna automatically turn off because I don't have a farmer portal account set up yet for my insured. But as an agent, I sure do. Obviously, I'm logged into the app. I can get in the app and work just fine. So if I want to receive push notifications, that's no problem. Again, you'll see the preference saved pop up here for me. And once more, I'm just going to go ahead and select OK. Now we have these notifications turned on. What does that mean? Well, we're halfway done, really, is what it means, because we still need to set our actual dairy prices. So in order to do that, you can see we skipped over this first section, which is set dairy prices. So I'm just going to tap in this open space here, and it's going to list the different types of DRP classes or types that they can elect from: class 3, 4, butterfat, protein, so on and so forth. For today, we'll just work on class 3. Once I've selected class 3, it's going to give me each one of the intervals. And then over on the right-hand side, we can elect our price. Now, I'll be honest, I'm no DRP expert, so these prices may be completely off, but I'm just going to put $4. Again, this could be completely off from what the price is even at, but for today, it'll serve its purpose in that we're going to set our price alert for these intervals at $4. Once this is good to go, I can tap the back button here. And now you'll notice we have a pencil icon next to the class 3 here, which just simply notifies me that we've set a price for this particular milk type here, class 3. For now, we're going to just call this good. We're going to select back once more, and basically we're done. From here on out, once a day, if our price criteria are met, we're going to get either an email or a notification, or in this case, both, at least as an agent, because we've both elected for an email to me as an agent and as a push notification. Our insured at this time will just receive the email. So that's how you can set up the different price alerts, which again will be reflected in the message center, which you can locate by clicking the bell icon, or if we go back to the menu, the messages. Now you'll notice I just selected the menu item and it's much more shorter. That's because we've selected insured. If I were to hit back one more time to get to the original screen of the full list of insureds, we'll see that full option show up again. And again, this is where our new price alerts for class 3 would show up under the messages. Now that we've got through the different menu items here, before we again jump into an insured and start really looking at different features there, I also want to just point out this bottom section here. Now, currently we have the policy holders that's highlighted, and this is going to be the default selection every single time that you get into the app, every time you log in. But you also have available to you, without jumping into an individual insured, field insights, and prospect quoting. Now, the nice thing about these two is that you don't require, obviously, an insured to be elected, so it comes in real handy when you're working with a prospect. If I click, for example, Field Insights, we're going to be brought to this screen here. Now, you can still search for any of your insureds you have on the books very quickly and easily just by clicking this icon here. and you can still look in at individual insured's field insights. But what's nice is you also have the ability to select to create a new prospect or view any saved prospects. Once we get into an actual insured's policy, we'll have field insights available to us, but we're not going to be able to prospect anything. It'll be that insured's field insights, and that's the only option we'll have available to us. So that's why I wanted to just real quickly show you that. So in case you weren't aware, you can just click that and jump right into field insights without selecting an insured. Same with prospect quoting. If I click that, it's going to allow me to create new quotes for a prospect without having an insured selected. Great for meetings you have with prospects. Maybe you run into someone you were looking to gain their business at the coffee shop, whatever the case may be. So this will allow you to very quickly show off some of the different things you can provide to them while working with NAU country. Now you'll see here I currently have no documents saved because I don't have any prospects saved to my account. So if I wanted to create a new one, I would just select the new prospect link there. I won't do that today, but if you recall when we were building the applicant for the Hail application, clicking this new prospect is the exact same process there. We just select the different pieces of information for our insured or prospect, and then once that's created, we can begin to quote for them. So let's go ahead and just re-highlight our policyholders, and let's jump into an insured now. Start really getting into the meat and potatoes of the actual application. We'll just stick with, actually, we'll make our way down to one of the policies I've created for myself, Mr. Adam Flynn here. But before we do that, real quickly, let's just break down some of the different icons we actually see here in the list of insureds. First thing you may notice is the little green E. This is simply referencing that this policy or these policies are all mapped. They have fields that are mapped on the policy. If it is not highlighted in green, more likely it's a dairy or a livestock policy or a hail policy. So in this case, one of our dairy policies that one of our reps made, you can see there it's not highlighted in green. The DRP policy, it's not mapped. Next, you'll see on the policy that we're actually going to work on today, a red flag. This means there's an open claim on that policy. It's just a nice visual cue as far as just giving you a real quick, yep, that policy has a claim on it, but really you can't do anything with it from this screen. We'll look into a little more detail what is going on with this claim a little bit later on the call, but this again is just a quick visual for you to see that there is a claim on the policy. And then last but not least, we don't actually see it right now, but if you can use your imagination, sometimes you'll see a little red triangle right here in the upper corner, upper left corner of a particular insured. This is just a visual cue that there is an error on the policy. Doesn't reference the severity of the error. Could be something very minor. Could be something a little bit more important. But again, it's just a visual cue for you that there is an error on the policy and that maybe you want to get a hold of your underwriter. So with that covered, let's go ahead and jump into a policy. I'm just going to select my name. And we already saw this when we were working with Adam Baker's policy, when we were creating the DRP price alerts. We're just kind of breaking down what we're looking at here. Without selecting the actual policy, on the right-hand side, we're going to see some personal info on the insured, contact information, again, for the insured. And then if we scroll up, a list of action items here. Now, this list is pretty good size as far as different features that are available to you, but it's actually not the full list that's available. And even though I've tried to stress some of the importance of the different features that I feel is overlooked at times, full disclosure, for just being transparent with you, you will probably 90% of the time when using the app, you're going to be in the actions menu. So we're going to really focus on this from here on out. So in order to get the full list of features that are available in the actions menu, we actually need to select the policy we want to work on. In this case, I only have one this year's, so I'm going to go and select that. You may, though, when you're in here working with an insured, see a list of policies. What that's doing is it's showing you the current year, and then everything else below that will be prior year policies. As agents, you can only edit the current year policy. You can look at and view some of the information on the prior policy by clicking them, but you won't have the full edit ability you'll have by selecting an actual policy. Once a policy is selected, some of the information changes just a little bit on the right-hand side. You'll see our policyholder information basically combined what was the personal info and the contact information into one field and replaced the contact information with our coverages. Now, real quick, before I start really breaking down what we're looking at here, I also want to just quickly reference that all of the things that we're looking at, obviously we're working on my iPad, which is a big full screen, so I have a lot of real estate in regards to screen size, so I can see a lot of things pretty easily. If you are doing this on, for example, say a phone, these three items here are three menu items: the policyholder information, the coverages, and the actions will actually appear as tabs along the top here. So I'm actually going to pull my iPad just kind of slightly off my screen just to give a little bit of a better visual. But if you're on a phone, you may see something like that, where it's going to be, obviously a smaller screen due to being on a phone. And if you want to select the actions, it would be a tab located right in the middle here. You can't miss it. Again, since we're on my iPad, those menu items, let me go ahead and maximize again quick, are, sorry, let me get that centered. Those menu items are able to be seen quite easily on the right-hand side by just scrolling up and down. So back to the actual items here. So let's real quickly look at the coverages. I'm just going to work with corn, but the same thing can be available for the soybeans. But these are the coverages that are currently listed on this policy. If I click the corn, what it provides me is all of the units on the policy that are tied to that coverage. All of this information is read-only, can't edit anything here. But if you wanted to see, for example, your guarantee, any applicable dates that apply to that unit, you can very quickly reference that here. In addition, you may notice on the right-hand side, there's these little gray arrows. This is just a visual cue that there's another menu item available to you. So if I click anywhere in this open space, I can also see the APH, the 10-year database. So if I select that, it's going to bring up that 10-year database for the unit. Just again, a nice tool, nice feature that you're with your insured, you may run into them, at the local basketball game. Hey, I'm just curious, what was my production for 2019? No problem, let's pull up the 10-year APH. You can grab your phone and do this exactly right then and there and show them that information. To back out, you can see we have a back icon there, and we'll return to this screen here. And then also, in regards to this unit, you can see it's always going to reference what we're looking at towards the top here. We can also play with some different scenarios in regards to the prices and indemnity. So you can see there's our trigger yield, which is based off the average for that unit. We can then adjust the harvest price, adjust some different yields for this year, and then if we hit calculate, it'll estimate any potential indemnity for this unit. I won't go into this any further just because just for time's sake, but again, this is available to you to again work with your insured and just kind of play with some different scenarios with them on the app. And again, this is all in reference to this unit. So we hit back, we'll return to this menu item. I'm going to hit back once more. We're brought back to the list of units. And if I hit back one more time, we're back to the original screen we started at when we selected the coverages. Now again, I could do all of that with the soybeans, but because it's exactly the same process, we're just going to go ahead and move right into our actions menu. Now I'm going to real quickly scroll all the way down just to basically reference what I mentioned earlier. You can see this list got significantly bigger because now that we have a policy selected, we have the full list of action features available to us. So let's just go ahead and start from the top and make our way down. Starting with the NAU country context, we already looked at that. That was located in the menu item. So we won't get into this any further. But we will select the next item, which is our policy map. The difference here is, though, whereas when we selected the map from that menu item, the very beginning of the call, we were looking at our book of business, our insureds. Now that we have a policyholder selected, when I click maps, I see their fields. Most of this is read-only, but there are a couple features that are available to you from within this menu item or this feature. And in order to access them, we need to actually select a field. So I'm just going to select this field here in the middle, and it's going to bring up a menu. From here, from the NAU field ID and down, all view information, nothing can be edited. But you notice up top, we have a driving directions and a take photo feature. Driving directions is really nice, and what it's going to do is it's going to actually open up Google Maps, and it's going to set your destination as a lat long based on where you clicked. That way, if, say, our insured, which is actually myself today, I called up my agent, hey, meet me at this field, I want to take a look at something. No problem. Pull up the app, click that field. You can get driving directions right to that field very quickly and easily. Second is this take photo feature. What this does, if I select it, it's going to open up my camera on my iPad and it'll allow me to take a photo. So let's say you're out in the field, you need to take a photo of some damage. What's nice about that is once that photo is taken, it then actually puts a stamp with a list of information, your location, um, the policy, the unit, time and date. It also lets you add in remarks. So you could say, this is, I am at this field and referencing this hail damage or whatever the case may be. You can then take that photo, which is saved to your device, and provide it to an adjuster if needed for the claim. So just a nice feature that's available to you as an agent to help your insured out when providing any information in regards to the claim itself. To get this menu item to close, just tap anywhere on the map and you can see it drops off. You'll also notice in the upper right hand corner these three little dots, which is always basically the universal icon for a menu item within the app. And if I click that, mostly pretty straightforward, driving directions, some different map options, but I do want to real quickly just look at this turn on CLU tap search. With this turned on, what this allows me to do is to tap any field, whether a field that's already mapped or a policy field or an unmapped field, to look at that information. So for example, if I just tap this field here, what it did is it brought up the search results along the right-hand side. Now I do have to just call out that I am in our demo app, and so this particular feature is currently not working, but in the real live app, the app that you would have on your device, what would also happen is the field would highlight. So just give you another visual cue. But again, what we're really looking for is that search results that we wanted to see for this field. So I just wanted to call that out in case you wanted to. A good example is added land. We have a new field we need to add to the policy, and I'm not sure what the FTF is. You can jump in here, turn on that CLU search functionality, tap on that field, and you're going to get all that information available to you. So let's go ahead and select the back button, which will bring us back to our actions menu. The next on the list is our Easy View Weather and Field Insights. Just due to time, in all honesty, I'm not going to jump into either of them just because I could spend a couple hours on both of these items. But again, just wanted to call out that this is where you would access them. And again, this data for both Easy View Weather and Field Insights would be tied to this policy. If you recall, when we looked at Field Insights down below here, this is going to be for when we need a prospect. This is just going to be for Adam M. Flynn's policy, Field Insights. For anyone that's not familiar with Easy View Weather, they work pretty similar as far as Easy View Weather and Field Insights. The only difference is that Easy View Weather is going to be specific to just hail information. A good scenario is you have your insured signed up for the hail probability emails. They receive that email. Yep, got some hail. Let me jump into Easy View Weather and just see how severe it is. Oh wow, I got an inch and a quarter of hail on my field. I better get a notice of loss submitted. So these two work, the Easy View Weather and the hail probability emails kind of work hand in hand in providing information to your insured so that they can get a claim submitted if needed. Next on the list is acreage reporting. I'll jump into the menu item just to show you what it looks like, but I won't go into it in depth just because I know that we'll also have a couple NAU country connection and webinars in the future that'll just cover acreage reporting options, this being one of them. But just since we're here, I will just real quickly show you what it'll look like. So this is what it'll look like. It looks very similar to the policy map. Basically, the way it works is you select a field to begin reporting acres. You can see I just highlighted this field here. A menu item opened up. I would select the unit, adjust any share names or share percentage, add the plant date, the plant acres. I can also include PP acres and uninsured acres, so on and so forth. Basically, the same process you can follow in easy mapping, found in EasyWriter Pro, you can do here on the mobile app. Once we're done, select another field, repeat until you're done. Again, I won't go into that any further just because we're going to really look at this in depth on a future call, but I wanted to just kind of give you a visual as of what we're working with. If you were on last week's call, where we talked about production reporting, very similar in regards to the way it looks. Only difference is that with production reporting, we were doing it by unit. Acreage reporting, it's going to be done by field. Next on the list is our claims. Now you'll notice that we have two claims currently on this policy. And if I click this open space here, I can then look at the actual status for those claims and any notes or anything that may be going on with the actual claim. To do so, just click the claim you want to look at. In this case, I'll just look at the top one, which will bring me to this screen here. Now you'll notice this green dot over on the left-hand side. Basically, this is going to track the status as we move throughout the claim. And it's maybe hard to see since I'm sharing my iPad right now, but this green dot on the very left is just basically saying it's brand new and it's just been opened, and you can reference that status right there. Below that, we'll see some general information. As the claim begins to get worked, we'll begin to see adjuster notes and logs, things like contacted insured, left voicemail, contacted insured, set up time to meet, so on and so forth. So you can track all of this different information on the applicable claim. Again, since this is a brand new one, not a whole lot of data that we can look at this time. So I'm just going to tap the back button, bring me back to this screen. Once more, back to actions. Now, since we're talking about claims, I'm actually going to skip the quoting for now. I'll come back to it, but I just want to real quickly reference the notice of loss option. Now, I'm obviously maybe a little bit biased, being in IT specifically here at NAU Country, but I personally think that the notice of loss submission process on the app is the best way to do it. It's just quick, it's easy, answer questions, and you're done. So let's real quickly just look at how we can create a notice of loss on the app itself. A great real life scenario as far as when this can be used: you run into your insured at a coffee shop, you have a meeting with them, and you don't have your computer next to you. Whatever the case may be, no problem. I'm going to pull up my phone and let's get a loss submitted for you. So once I've selected the notice loss feature, like I said, it's just going to be a series of questions based on your answer from that first question. You'll get a new question to answer, and it'll just follow that process. So the first question here is, what type of loss are we working with here? I already have a prevent plant and a replant claim on this policy. So for today, let's go ahead and just create a harvest loss. You'll see that a couple things kind of quickly happen there on the screen, but as we answer questions, they're going to be highlighted in blue here. So we obviously just selected the notice type, and the county, with the question for what county, was already answered for us because there is only one county on this policy. If you had a policy with multiple counties, you would need to select which county you need to submit that loss for. So that question was answered for us. So the next question, what crop? So we have a couple of corn claims on this policy already, so let's just go ahead and select soybeans. Now that we have our crop selected, let's go ahead and elect what caused the claim. The first section is going to be the top causes that are elected, but below that you can see the full list. So if we wanted to say that in Minnesota we got hit with a cyclone, we could do that. Today I'm just going to be a little bit more realistic and say excess moisture. Now that we have the cause selected, we need to make sure we know or elect what the insured intends to do with the crop. Today we'll just say destroy. Now we need to elect the date of damage. Just click this calendar icon here, which will bring up a little calendar scroll wheel. You can see I can scroll back as far as back as I want. We'll just say April 12th for today. Now use your imagination. I know this is not a real life scenario. How can we have a harvest loss on April 12th on soybeans? But for today, we're just going to go ahead and say that happened. We have that date of damage listed. You can see it's referenced there. Now we need to proceed to the next screen, answer a couple more questions. Starting with, has it been harvested? It's already highlighted as no, so I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to add a remark today. Again, I have a Bluetooth keyboard, so I'm just going to go ahead and type. This keyboard will drop off. There it goes. This is my remark. Now we can save this loss. If I needed to, it can obviously discard it as well. Now from here, we can add another crop if needed to include an additional county, whatever the case may be. But for today, we're just going to go ahead and proceed to submission. Answer a couple of questions. I'm just going to say no to both. Hit proceed once more. And from here, we can add any additional remarks. Again, that photo taking feature that we looked at when we were in the policy map is available here. So if we are in the field while doing this, we could quickly add a photo. In this case, I'm just going to say that we're good to go. I don't need to do that. We have my phone number already saved. You can see here, if I want to update it with a new one, I could do so. So that basically I can skip all of this since I have all this information already saved as an insured for my guy. So I just need to enter when I received this loss. So the date received, again, if I click the calendar, it's going to bring up this icon here. We said April 12th, so I'm going to say that we received this on April 13th. It came in the morning, and it came in via email. Now all I need to do is submit the notice of loss, which is that last blue button there, and we get a confirmation. Thank you for submitting your notice of loss. Tap the OK button, and we're going to be brought back to the original screen. You'll also notice where it was 2 claims, now we see 3. So it's automatically tracking that. And if we click in there one more time, now we see our 3rd claim for our soybeans. So we had those 2 corn claims I mentioned earlier, which we kind of looked at the first one there. Now we have that soybean claim we just created. Again, you can track that just like before for the 2 corn ones we looked at. So let's tap back. And let's look at some of these features that we skipped over initially while looking at some of the claim information. First one is our view quotes. If we have any quotes saved to this policy, we can view them here. And what's really cool is that if you have any quotes that were saved while created in EasyWriter Pro, you'll also be able to see them here under your MCCI quotes, hail quotes, or name peril quotes if you had created some. In this case, you can see I do have some, but we're not going to look into that because I actually want to just create a new MPCI quote. Now you'll notice that we have the new MPCI quote here, but I'm actually going to back up once, but I just want to call out that it is available here. I'm going to back up a little bit here, and we're going to select the new hail quote from this policy. The new quote from this policy works the same way. It's going to allow you to select MPCI or things like that as well. Again, being that we're past the March 15 sales closing, let's just look at the hail quote side. Now, if you recall, when we first started the call and we looked at the hail quote, we did that from this menu item here. The difference was that we had to build that hail line manually. But because we now have an insured selected, I can build that hail quote based on the policy that we have in play already. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a quote for our corn for today. So I'm going to go ahead and just select in this open space here, and I can begin to essentially create my hail quote. You can see I have my unit number listed. Basically everything up top here is already filled up for me. I already have my acres. So I just need to first select is what type of hail quote I want to add. You can just click anywhere in this open space here. And for today, I'm just going to make it simple and select basic. Next, we need to add a coverage per acre since we selected basic. So I'm just going to do nice and easy, $100 per acre for today. Now, if that's all that we needed to do, we could just hit this add line right here, and we would have created a basic hail policy for this unit of corn. What's really cool here is you can see these 3 options here: apply location to all similar lines. Don't want to do that because I know that the corn units all have different locations. But below that, you'll see I can see apply policy to all similar lines, as well as apply coverage per acre to all similar lines. I'm going to do that today because I know that my insured, which again is myself, wants basic hail on all his corn. So I'm going to tap apply policy form to all similar lines. Quick little load screen here. And then once more, I'm going to apply coverage per acre to all similar lines. From this point, now I'm going to select Add Line, which will then automatically back me out. And you'll see now I have at least 2 of my 4 corn units selected for basic coverage. You'll notice that the unit 0102 and unit 0104 do not. That's because they have 0 acres on those units right now. If they had acres reported, these would have also been checked. So from here, I'm good to go. I only need to select these 2. If I wanted to, though, I could just check this checkbox as I know if they're going to plant on these units this year. It's just going to bring me to this screen here to add the acres. I'm going to back up again, though, just to simply utilize the units that I have acres on already. So I'm ready to create this quote. And you'll see here, if I scroll down, here's the quote we just created utilizing our policy. I can tap into that. You can see there's our 2 lines. Now again, to kind of bring this full circle, when we first selected the menu item and we created that, we didn't go into building the actual lines manually. But if we had, I'm going to jump into a line we just created. This is the information that we would have had to have keyed in manually, starting from the top, your state, county, so on and so forth, all the way down to the coverages and endorsements. Now that we have the quote created, if we need to add any endorsements, we can do so here, but this needs to be done on a line-by-line basis. So if we wanted to add, for example, wind to this line, I would just tap in the endorsement space, and you can see I get the full list of available endorsements. Let's just say I wanted to add simple wind. You can see the toggle button there. Turn it on, hit the back button, and once this load screen is done, you'll see that the wind endorsement's listed there. We can view the county rate sheet, we can view the loss performance, or we can just hit back and look at the full farm quote as well. You'll also be able to start a new hail application from within this option based on the quote we had created. I won't do that because we're going to see that here real quickly, but I'm going to do it from scratch more or less. But I just wanted to call that out, that once you've built the quote, you can look at it and view it right here in the app by just clicking the view the full farm quote option. Let's just say that in scenario, I'm playing part both agent and insured, and I have my insured with me. I'm looking at it together with him on my iPad. Yep, this looks good to go. Let's create a hail application based on this quote. But for today, I'm going to hit back. I'm going to hit back once more. Now that we're back to the original screen, let's look at this new hail application from this policy. This is what I meant when I said we're going to not create an application on the quote we just created, because I wanted to do it from the action menu here. So let's again kind of play scenario here. I'm with my insured, or maybe he's on the phone with me, and there's a storm coming and I need to get a binder in. Instead of just dealing with the whole quoting process, we can just jump right into creating an application. The nice thing about this is, this looks fairly similar, I would hope, is that it follows a pretty similar process to the quoting. But instead of creating a quote, now we're creating an actual application. So I've clicked that first unit, exact same process as a quote. The only difference is we're not building a quote, now we're building an application. So if I real fast just add basic again, I'm going to do $100, and I'm going to do $100 once more. I'm going to add to all similar lines, and I'm going to add coverage breaker to all similar lines as well. Just like before when quoting, I'm going to add that line and then hit back. You'll see there my two corn lines are good to go, but instead of creating a quote, I can now create the application. This screen should be familiar because this is what we saw originally when we first started the call. The difference is, instead of building lines manually, I'm going to just skip over these 3 since I know they're all good to go. But instead of having to build a line, we have our lines already built for us. So we would just hit the complete button and begin the application process. Now I'll go through this to the very end without submitting, because I would create an error because there is a claim, 2 claims actually, on our corn right now. But let's just go through the process to the very end here. So the first thing we see is our summary. Go ahead and select next. Answer our questions that we'd have to do on a regular app. So I'm just going to hit no for all. And then you'll see right here, required, I need to initial. Once those initials are keyed, this next button will be available to click. Terms and signatures, I scroll down, and you can see I can go ahead and sign. If I were to hit submit, I would have just created a hail application for my insured right here on the app. So great tool, especially in those situations where something's coming and I need to get a hail coverage pretty quick. Again, I'm not going to select submit just because I'll create an error, but if I had, or in the real life scenario, once I hit submit, next thing we would see is actually a PDF display on our screen right here in the app of the application we created, which then you can email yourself, email to your insured, you can save it. And what this actually does is also submits the same form you're looking at to your underwriter's workflow. But if you feel comfortable or feel just want to be safe, you could also email it to your underwriter right from within the app. All those options are available once you hit submit. For today, just to avoid the errors I would create, I'm just going to hit back a couple times here. All right, so we're brought back to the actions menu that we started out here originally. Now, everything we just did there, that was for a standalone hail policy. We also can do this for easy hail. The only difference is we need to start with the application and policy change, which seems a little bit odd because obviously when I see that, I think MPCI. But with easy hail, it's going to be available in this particular option because it's obviously built on the MPCI policy. You'll see here we get this little error pop up, and this is just notifying us that we're already past our sales closing for this policy, so the only thing that can be edited is our easy hail. So I'm going to select OK, and you'll notice right below coverages, we can elect easy hail. I can tap that option there. I'm going to skip over policy again because I know it's correct because I've been working with my insured here. So I'm just going to tap the easy hail coverage. And just as you can see there, it's pretty simple. Select add easy hail coverage. I'll do soybeans this time since we just did a standalone on corn. And what's nice about easy hail, obviously, is you don't have to build any lines. It's going to be completely based on the MPCI acres. So all I need to elect is my hail coverage. Again, we'll just do basic. Any endorsements that we need to select, I'll just skip that for today. So I'm just going to select my $100 and I can proceed to submission. Now again, this is the same as that submit button we were just at before where I backed up. If I were to click this, I'm going to get an error saying that there's a claim on it and I can't do that right now. But if I did, same thing would happen. Preview of the PDF would be available for the application we just did. You can save that, email it, whatever you like to do with it. But in this case, I'm just going to stop here and simply tell you and just take my word on it. That's what happened if I hit the proceed to submission. So let's hit back once more and get back to the original menu. All right, so I was able to back into the original menu here, and we can continue moving on through the actions menu. Again, just kind of reiterate, in a real life scenario where there wouldn't be a claim, or hopefully there wouldn't be a claim necessarily, once we hit that submit button, we'd be good to go. But we're almost done here. Although the list is still pretty long, really there's not a whole lot that we haven't already seen, whether because of that first menu item that we looked at originally, or it's just pretty obvious what we're looking at. But I do want to finish on the last feature here, which is the policy documents. The nice thing about this is that what this allows me to do is view any document of record that's been created already for this policy, to include anything that was created in EasyWriter Pro. So the list that we're looking at here were actually all documents that were generated in EasyWriter Pro. Just to bring this into like a real life scenario, let's say that again we're at the local high school football game this time, and I run into my insured, and hey, I was just wondering, I got my acres right submitted? Yeah, no problem. Scheduled insurance already submitted. Well, I didn't get that, or I got lost in the mail. no problem. You can come right up to the app, whether on your phone, iPad, and bring that document right up and show them right then and there. Even though it was generated in EasyWriter Pro, it's available to be viewed here in the app by selecting the policy documents. So it's just a nice feature that basically keeps you connected to any document that's attached to your insured. And you can see there, here's a list of documents for this particular policy. I hit back there, let's get back to the original menu. But again, that's pretty much what I wanted to call out on the actions menu. You do notice, for example, there is a driving directions. The difference if I were to select driving directions here versus when we were in the policy map is that these driving directions, though will still open up Google Maps, your destination will be the policyholder's home address versus an individual field. But that is the NAU Country mobile app. Fairly high level, but still pretty detailed. There were some things that we didn't look at because we're going to look at it in the future calls, or that we had already looked at in the past, for example, like the production reporting. But if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns once you get out there and start playing with it, please go ahead and reach out to your marketing rep or your underwriter. They're all very familiar with the app and will be more than happy to help you guys out with anything that you come across. And before we end the call today, I just want to real quickly give a call out to the marketing calls that Rich Morrison's been doing. If you're not on them, it's a call that basically he'll do each morning around 8:30, give or take, comes from the same number, and he just simply goes over the different markets as of that day. He also will send out an email each day referencing that same information along with some other info that he attaches to the email. It's kind of a newsletter. But it's really a cool tool that's available to you and your farmers. And what's really neat about it is that Rich does a really, really good job of tying the marketing and that side of things, that the decisions that farmers got to make, and really shows how the crop insurance policy works hand in hand in helping making educated decisions. So I really highly recommend if that's something you have not jumped on yet, to reach out to your marketing reps. They definitely know how to get you set up for that. But it's really been a pretty cool success, and our farmers are really beginning to like that a lot. And it's just another option that it's available to you and your insurance. I just wanted to give that call out quick. But again, like I said at the very beginning of the call, thank you for jumping on today's call. Any questions, please reach out to your reps and have a great rest of the day. Thanks a lot, everyone.